to me and said, I'm putting together a task force that's going to review all of our support procedures. Would you like to know? And I thought, I've been in San Diego 3 years, I'm 27 years old, but yeah. And then I ended up co-chairing that panel and came out with an 18-year study and 100 recommendations that fundamentally changed a lot of the ways the police department functioned, in the sense that they got a lot more options other than the gun. They had some de-escalation training on their communications training and things like that, and they're things that other departments now are actually looking at. The ability of a young person in San Diego that wants to get involved and make a difference is amazing. And that's what got me really going in politics and so forth.
Of course, the two of you are running for city attorney, in case anybody wondering.
Right. That was
That wasn't front and center. Mr. Ellis, Ray.
Yes, Ray Ellis. I'm running for San Diego City Council here in District 1. We're in the district. Well, I got a little more experience. But I live in Carmel Valley with my wife, and I've got 3 great kids. My youngest is a middle schooler at Carmel Valley Middle School. I came to San Diego in 1987 as a 29-year-old, literally sold everything we had, and started a small business out of the garage in the condo in Linda Vista. Fast forward 15 years later, we've got over 150 employees, offices, and customers nationwide, a large marketing company, very successful, and a lot of good fortune, and a lot of hard work went into that. But I've also done a lot of volunteer work. I've actually worked with David Lopez when they Teach for America came to San Diego through the Parker Foundation, where I served as a volunteer board member, and Judy McDonald and I worked on doing some initial funding to get them started here in San Diego. You mentioned Reality Changers. I've also worked with that group, a great organization here in San Diego. I've done everything from coach hundreds of kids in Top Corner football and rec league basketball in Carmel Valley to be the volunteer board chair of the pension board during the pension crisis that we had to navigate through as a city. So I want to bring those experiences to City Hall to make sure that we're not only protecting the current quality of life that we all enjoy so much, but more importantly, that we take the opportunities to enhance that. And we have so many opportunities. Yes, we have challenges that we still have to deal with, but we've got so many opportunities. And as an independent problem solver, I want to bring that collaborative effort and actually connect the dots between the nonprofit community, the business community, which I've received all the endorsements from that area, and the city side, so that we're pulling together to address homelessness and some of these big issues. Glad to be here, and thank you so much for being
Denise.
I am Denise Gitsham. I am a Republican candidate. I'm one of many Republican candidates running for Congress in the 52nd Congressional District, and I am in the district right now as well. It's the most beautiful district, y'all. It goes from Coronado up to La Jolla, the entire coast, all of downtown, everything west of the 5 until you get to about Mission Valley, and then I get the mall. That's kind of the end of it. It's awesome. And then it goes all the way up to Carmel Valley and out to Poway. So it's a huge district, lots of different people. And I think the reason I'm so excited, and I always have been, about being a participant and a public servant in our political process, is my parents are immigrants. My mother came from Taiwan in 1969. And the fact that her vote, this always blows me away, her vote counts as much as any one of you who may be 15 generations descended from Mayflower. And that's such a remarkable thing to grow up knowing, that I was born in a land in California, in a land in America, where my mother can have as much impact on the outcome of an election as anybody else who's been here forever. I just think that's remarkable. And my father's technically an immigrant as well. He's from Canada, so it still counts. But, I think that, yeah, right. We'll go there. But yeah, but it's, that's remarkable. And so I think that when you think about your vote, and I worked for Governor George W. Bush when he was running for president in 2000 when I was 22 years old. We had 2 Florida recounts, and we also heard, does our vote really matter? Well, I mean, it does. In fact, in my congressional election in 2014 in this district, it was only won by 6,000 votes, and it wasn't decided for 3 days. And so I think that it's our job as Americans, whatever party you're in, to not only invite people to be a part of the political process, but to actually welcome them in, so that you know that you have not just a seat at the table, but you're a welcome participant. And I get excited about that when I see people like But the fact that that can have a ripple effect and we can get everyone involved is so exciting.
Well, San Diego is one of the most amazing melting pots. It's the leading refugee place in the whole country. 1/4 of the high school students are English as a second language. But let's wade into the weeds a little bit. Are you saying, sure, one vote, one woman, that's true. But politics isn't cheap, and you have to raise money. I think a lot of people honestly wonder, what do you get for that amount of money? Now, I mean, you go to Washington, you get to sleep in the Lincoln bed. Perhaps Lincoln isn't there any longer. It's corner. It's a corner now. But how do you parse out? Let's say you win and somebody has helped you. Who gets into that office meeting and why? I don't mean in a big political way. Just in a kind of how do you deal with that?
Go ahead.
Yep, should I go back to me? Yeah, I think the answer to someone who's a contributor, and you need money to get your message out, there's no question about it. Maybe less so as social media becomes more powerful, more pervasive. But my answer to someone who's donated money to me is the same as my answer to any citizen in San Diego. I've got an open door and an open mind. And I'll hear you out no matter where you come from. So nothing special. Just an open door and an open mind. People want to assure that, and sometimes that leads people to participate in the political process by giving money or campaigning for somebody. But the answer is the same no matter who you are.
You caught us all at a time when we're furiously fundraising, so this is very relevant for all of us. One thing I always say is if you just look at this presidential, and to many different elections over time, it's not always the people who have the most money that win, right? If you have, money is only an amplifier. Look at Jeb Bush's campaign. He was the presumptive nominee, he raised so much money. That was one of the worst run campaigns in history, and they wasted more money than most people have ever seen. And so, if you don't have a good message, it's compelling. Bernie Sanders raised $44 million last month alone. He doesn't have the machine that Hillary has, but his message is resonating with people. So, we talk about money, and money can only get you so far. And I think that it's really one thing that people are disenchanted with in Washington, which is what I talk about since I'm running for federal office, is that you have to decide before you jump into a race what you're going to do, what kind of a representative you're going to be. If you're going to be the kind of person that everyone's sick of, which says, if you're for me, then I'm for you, or you decide that you're going to be a representative that represents everybody, regardless of whether they supported you or not. And that's your job. It's not about being served when you're in office, it's about you serving the public. And the public is everybody.
And I think it's an easy thing to say, it's something that every politician will ever say, and that is, I don't pay attention to who gives me money, and I'm going to serve everybody, I'm going to have an open door, and that's just the way it's going to work. And I think all of us, or at least most of us, hopefully believe that, and I think that's great, and that's how we approach it. But we're also on the phone calling all these people asking for money. And it's a weird way to select your elected representatives that are going to represent you, to make them go through this process.
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
And it's something that we really have to have a conversation about because it's a crazy process.
Thank you. What happened to grassroots?
Exactly.
Right? Why are we throwing money for campaigns? Why aren't we out there knocking on doors? So my question is, what do you do if you take the money away from it? How are you going to go get people out there to believe in what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, that bit about social networking, this is a high-tech city. Is that a bigger deal all of a sudden in San Diego? I mean, when you have Uncle Bernie getting 75% of the vote under 30, which is crazy. Have the rules changed so it's easier to get in if you're on that, or is that really more of a national thing?
I'd like to think so. We really haven't seen that necessarily fully play out yet. I mean, there's still resources. I mean, so Bob and I raised pretty close to the same amount of money. There's a little bit more. He's got more than both of us. He's got more than both of us. But the thing that we come to realize, I think, is in a citywide election, how that doesn't go very far. I mean, it's really a remarkable thing when you take into account the fact that a good chunk of what you raise comes off the top to your fundraiser, to your staff, to all this other stuff. What you're left with, even though you raise several $100,000 to actually communicate to voters, is remarkable. And then when you look at how much it costs to communicate to voters citywide, it goes fast. And so
city council's a little different.
You guys will, and you can go.
On the money side, it's crazy. The amount of
that money
And,
goes
you know, that's what
somewhere
I almost
else.
said, when they showed me the budget, I almost said, what the?
Yeah, what, no, you can say it, you can say, here you
So,
can say it.
but my campaign, because it's a district-only race, is more grassroots. I've been knocking on doors and meeting neighbors and meeting people in the community since August of last year. And so I've been doing it myself, and then we've got a team of volunteers and some paid staff to do it. So it's a little different than a citywide race, and much different than a congressional race. It's very, very different.
I've come to the door twice in my pajamas for a race.
Yeah.
Something
Did you
more.
open it? That's the question.
You look at the people first. Feels like this.
For Gil and I, we're relying on the media, and
There's nothing
I
that says
think
you
you're
don't.
right. We can grant anything, it's that they really aren't paying attention to our race. It's the presidential race, it's Donald Trump and it's the Chargers.
I mean, the city attorney's race is so darn interesting, though. I mean, it's like really gripping stuff.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, what does it really do? I mean, does anybody in the audience really know? It has a major effect on you if you're a small businessman or a big business person or
It's
whatever.
a hugely important office. Within the city of San Diego, there's very little that this office doesn't touch in some way. You are the chief legal advisor to the mayor and the council and all city officials. You are their lawyer. If the city is sued, you're the lawyer that represents the city. If the city needs to sue somebody, you're the lawyer that represents the city. In the criminal space, we are in charge of all misdemeanor prosecutions within the city of San Diego, which have huge impacts on your quality of life in the neighborhoods. Hugely important office. Very few people paying attention to it. So it's an interesting little dynamic that you deal with.
Right, it's 20 to 30,000 criminal cases a year, the city attorney's office. And how much do you hear about what they're doing? And granted, we're not talking about murders, we're not talking about rapes and robberies, we're talking about quality of life crimes, street crimes, possession of drugs, not marijuana, cocaine, heroin, petty theft gets out of control. And so the city attorney has to have a real impact. Code enforcement, or how does Airbnb change the character of neighborhoods?
It's a huge one. But for the naifs in the audience, of which I consider myself somewhat, what's the difference between the district attorney and the city attorney who wants to get that?
Yeah, I am happy to feel that. I'm a deputy district attorney now. The district attorney prosecutes all felonies in the county and all misdemeanors outside of the city. Inside the city, all misdemeanors and infractions and code enforcement go through the city attorney's office. But to your point, I've been asked many times, gee, Bob, what was it like working for Mike Aguirre? It's like, no, I'm a deputy district attorney, not a, oh, was that crazy under Aguirre? No. Or how's Jan? Is he a great boss? No, I work for Bonnie the Monist. And so this is coming from educated folk, college-educated people. So the information is not high on the roles of the city attorney. Gil properly outlined civil advisory, civil litigation, criminal prosecution. You put all that together and you can see how it impacts every community.
And I get the, gosh, you're running against Bonnie?
Right.
Who's the district attorney, right? We get
Oh,
that
you're
a lot.
not after your boss, no, I'm not running against my boss, right?
I'm still confused. But I guess geographically, if you're running for city council, right, and you represent that district and the interest self-defined by that place, is that right? I mean,
Yeah, so you have to deal with a combination of issues. There are 9 districts within the city. District 1 is La Jolla, Carmel Valley, University City. And so you're dealing with the bigger city issues. One of the main things the city council deals with are land use issues. So the One Paseo project in Carmel Valley, which you may have heard of, I was very involved with that. I'm on a community planning group. So some of those bigger land use issues, the charter stadium, things like that, will be part of that discussion. And then there are a whole host of neighborhood and community issues in our coastal communities. We talked about the short-term vacation rentals. We've got to rein that in and rein it in quickly because it will undermine the fabric of some of our communities. But all the different neighborhoods have different issues. I feel like District 1 is like 3 districts within a district because the communities are so different. So you do deal with different issues, but probably land use is the most complicated issue that the city council deals with.
So that's huge. It's like what gets developed and why, taxes on your house or shopping centers, all this stuff. Not to mention the most important thing in your district, the Pelicans.
The stench.
I like the seals of the Pelicans.
The seals are.
But that's too contentious for this town.
They come and get our food at Bella Vista. Who's been at Bella Vista?
Seals do?
Yeah, they come like swooping down. We've got the fattest seagulls in the world. My kid got a crossbow for his birthday, and he popped one in the butt. I kind of want to look at the video and watch it, but then I don't want the animal rights.
Well, the next panel we have somebody like me is into a rod and gun club, but maybe you should just be, you know, shooting those seagulls. Can you say that? Probably not. All right. Okay. Denise, help me here. Help me.
We'll say what
You guys can say whatever you want.
I'm leaving you to hang on.
No, in my neighborhood, someone's shooting the parrots, which is crazy. I love those little
Are we shooting the parrots?
They're shooting the parrots, and there's a tree behind my house where they love to come in the spring and eat something.
Oh.
And they're noisy as all hell right at dawn, but hey, I think it's neat. It seems exotic to live in a neighborhood with parrots.
Parents are cheerful down there at Point Loma and Nazarene, right?
Right by there, right?
Well, how are we doing on time here?
How are we doing on time?
15 minutes.
15
Oh,
minutes.
we're fine.
Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little about how I got excited when they asked me to come and host this, and I thought, okay, I gotta do some research, some really, really intense research, and I thought, well, how am I going to jump back into politics? I was a poli-sci major, right? I was a poli-sci major at UCSD, world traveler, studied sweet, Jim Triton. Although we gotta work on UCSD's social life. That's coming next. And for someone who studied politics, summer school media, traveled the world, I was gonna change the world, all of a sudden something happened and I felt totally disengaged. And I stepped back and I thought, this doesn't matter. And I'm sure some of you out there felt the same. What a waste of time, right? No one's listening to me. Even if I have a few people that want to follow, what I'm saying isn't making a difference, right? So for me, I thought, okay, well, when did I get re-engaged? Was it having a kid, right? Because when you have a kid, that's when you got to grow up, right? And become an adult. And it wasn't that, and it wasn't being a small business owner, although it would be helpful to know people who are in politics to move things along, and know the law and city permits and all those things when you're opening a small business. But what it was for me when I thought, oh wow, I really need to get plugged back in, was when I opened the Social Club. And that's because I finally felt part of the community again, right? And so I think there's a lot of people that don't care about politics because they don't feel that their voice matters and because they don't feel part of a community. So what would you bring to the community that you plan to serve?
I think the main thing for me is to not accept business as usual. When I talk about public service, I talk about putting yourself in a position to get the hero's call, where you can put yourself in a position to get a chance to do something great. And on January 1, 2003, when I found out these women had been murdered, to me I saw that as a hero's call to do something great. And there were things I wanted to do to solve that case, to do wiretaps that had never been done in gang cases in San Diego County. They said, no, we don't do those in gang cases. I said, guess what? We're doing those in gang cases. And you don't accept business as usual. That'll be a great way to change the way our city government works. Work at the district attorney's office with the way we do gang cases and the work at the city. If you just don't accept business as usual, put yourself in a position to answer the hero's call. You can't be in that position unless you're out there, you're engaged, and transition to an opportunity to run for office. It's certainly different, but by being engaged, I was disengaged from politics for 20 years. I virtually did nothing political. I was doing my job and raising my family, but by being engaged as a prosecutor and caring about a particular community that would be, quote, traditionally underserved, expression I want to get out of our lexicon, put me in a position to be receptive and to get the bigger pictures, the bigger ideas, and again, not to accept business as usual. Your generation will decide what business as usual will be, but it's not to accept it as you receive it, it's how you make it.
Somebody else jump in there?
I think for me, a lot of it's about being accessible. This is a day and age where on Twitter you can reply to somebody that is famous, that is a powerful politician, and sometimes they reply back. And that is an incredible, minor, small little feeling of what is possible. And at the local level, it should be incredibly possible. We should be out there. The elected officials should not just be going to City Hall and then disappearing to their house. But we should be out there, and so should our teams. We should be out there engaging with voters and talking about what's going on in the neighborhoods, going to the social club and just being there and have a discussion. To me, it's about transparency, it's about being accessible, and I think that's how you can engage people. For me, when I did the task force and then I was put on the city's ethics commission, it was about trying to talk to as many people as I could to find out what was going on and get people's opinions on it and see what's happening. And Ray's right. I mean, all of our communities are so similar and different at the same time. And you can live in one part of town and you can think of yourself as the same thing and have no idea what somebody in another community is experiencing in the same city if you're not out there. And so for me, a big thing that I want to bring to the table is just being accessible, being out there in the community, making sure the public knows who the city attorney is and is comfortable just coming up, talking to us, telling us what's going on, and if we can help, we can help. And I think that makes a difference.
And of course, you two would represent all of the city, right, as opposed to somebody, right, just in the district, which is super important. We're kind of in the weeds for like, what are those folks thinking about? So you think of the Teach America and David talking about there. I have never thought of it as a kind of a slight to say south of 8, because that's how the voters changed with, as it goes south it was Democratic. But I grew up partly in La Jolla, and it's speak to how San Diego has changed very briefly, but what do you think the future bodes here? It's a fast-changing city economically and ethnically in terms of voters. What do you think is going to be happening?
Yeah, a lot of big changes taking place, and a lot of people think that we're growing because people are moving here, and that's not it at all. We're actually losing more people than are coming here, and so we are growing organically. It's our children.
Why are we losing? Is it because of jobs?
A wide range of reasons, but I think some of the part of that is the job market here in San Diego. We've got a healthy one, but it's not healthy enough, and that's a key issue that I want to work on. And housing is a tremendous issue. I mean, when you consider that the cost to build a single-family or multi-family home in the city of San Diego, 47% of the costs go to fees and navigating the regulatory process. That's absurd. And
47% of the cost.
47%, yeah, it's a study done by Quitlam and Hazard.
You want to say bullshit? Just kidding.
To accentuate that point though, I can't even say 47, I say 40 because it just seems insane.
47. And it's a critical problem. I mean, here we have these great folks graduating from these world-renowned universities we have, especially UCSD up in here in District 1. We want to keep that intellectual firepower here in San Diego. And the way we're going to do that is certainly make sure that we got places for them to live. So we've got to look at densifying. We've got to have land use policies that aren't 5 years out. We've got to make sure that we're doing sound planning. We've got to educate the community on the importance of density. We've got to beef up our transit. I'm very excited about the mid-coast trolley that will be coming up to the VA hospital and UCSD, and then loop around and finish in North University City. And the UTC area, we're not even going to recognize it in 10 years. So we've got to have serious people that are willing to help us navigate that. But we also have some wonderful opportunities that are wrapped in challenges. Look at Balboa Park. I mean, Balboa Park is a wonderful cultural area for this entire region and for the state. But it's also falling apart. It's $300 to $350 million in deferred infrastructure needs to be done in that park. And don't forget, Balboa Park is a wonderful economic driver. It's a great driver for our tourism industry, which is 25% of our local economy. So we've got to work together, and that's one of the things I want to do is to be impactful on those issues by linking up the business community, the nonprofit sector, and government, pulling together to get these things done, because those individual entities can't do it on their own. It is about being a centrist. It is about reaching across. Let's take some of the partisan stuff out of these conversations. Having a water supply, having good roads, having wonderful parks, those should not be partisan issues. And I'm sure hopeful that if I am fortunate enough to be elected, I can bring that out.
I keep thinking I have something cool to say, and then I'm totally distracted by the bling on your shoes. And then your soft skills. So I think your question was like, what do you think the future of San Diego too? That's just part recovering, so I only get half the question right usually. So, you know, when I launched my campaign, it was on the belief that I would represent the most innovative district in America, and I will go to bat with anyone and any other representative in the nation to say that we're number one in the world for clean tech. I left Washington, D.C., I worked in politics there, and went to law school and worked at a law firm, and I came to come home to go in-house for a company that was making algae-based fuel. Like, this will blow your mind.
That's right, you worked for
Yeah,
Sapphire.
Sapphire Energy, here on Torrey Pines Mesa. We were making we were basically trying to become Saudi Arabia of renewable green crude oil. Like, who would want to be a part of that energy revolution, right? So I got to leave the stuffiness of Washington, D.C., where people preserve problems to use them in campaign slogans against each other, and actually do something to solve the problem, which I thought was energy security, which is directly tied to national security. And that, to me, was my passion ever since I was working in the White House on 9/11. So for me, getting out of the morass, there's many ass words that can be used when it comes to buying in Washington, D.C., but that's the best one I can think of, and getting to be part of the solution. And what attracted me so much to that innovation economy, and this is why I launched my campaign at DESCA. Actually, Monique Williamson is here. She is one of my best friends, and she runs the most epic co-working spot in San Diego. Stand up, Mo. Say hi. You want to talk to her? It's called DESCA. I'll give you a huge shout out, Mo. Everyone who want to work there.
Where is it?
Yeah, it's in Little Italy, right down the street
Okay.
from where I live, on India Street by Ballast Point. That sort of innovation, what's happening there is companies are being incubated there. They're collaborating right there, and they're creating the jobs that are going to be all of ours in the future.
One of the things that's amazing about, sorry.
Got to come to a final thought here, because we're going to hit this innovation economy in the next panel as well. So, was it a short final thought?
It's a famous question for a lawyer to answer.
Unrecovered attorney.
Well, I think one of the most amazing things about our town is how much is going on here that people don't know about. We are successful almost in spite of ourselves as the government that's around us and what's happening around us. And that's the excitement and the exciting thing about being in San Diego.
Yeah, I think and Amanda sort of encapsulates that with the Bella Vista. I mean, people are beginning to understand all these new things that are going on, around the UCSD and San Diego State. I think the whole city is kind of waking up to each other, which is nice, because it is a city of neighborhoods. Yeah. And there we go.
And now we just got to get them all to collaborate, not just talk about it,
Correct.
but to do it. And that, once we get past that challenge, the sky's the limit.
Is that it, Christopher?
You guys want a final thought? Well, the one thing I would leave you with, is that there are so many opportunities to get involved in San Diego. I can't tell you how many small, wonderful nonprofit organizations I've had the pleasure to work with, and they can use you on their boards. So please consider that. Whether your passion is education or youth or workforce development, they're all out there. And if you reach out to me, I'll be happy to try to connect you. And the other thing is there are lots of boards and commissions and task force and things like that that go on at the city level. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity to get involved and have an impact on our community without, having to do it on a day-to-day basis. So I would strongly encourage you to do it. And we certainly need some new faces sitting around the table on some of these issues. So thanks again for having us here today.
Ray can say that because we've got this election on lockdown. I need to recruit you for my campaign. Because I don't want just people that are sort of the same people being involved. My job is to energize and get you excited about what's possible in Washington again. And so I don't care what background you come from. I don't care if you're a first-time voter or you're a many-time voter, if you're Republican, Independent, or Democrat. My district is a third. There's no one that I don't want to reach, and there's no one that I can't come to some level of respect and understanding with respect to what you believe in and what I believe in. And so I want you to be involved. As much as you want to be involved, it's only because of you that we get anything done. And if you don't get involved, don't try to bitch to me later on about why it's bad.
Bam!
There's one thing San Diego's accused of a lot is thinking small and not thinking big, restricting ourselves by how we view ourselves, and that's something that has to stop. And I think it's stopping. That's why I'm excited for this opportunity, not for me, but for the city. The fastest growing party in the city, I believe, is Decline State. I didn't know, DTS is the fastest growing party. What the heck party is that?
Is that a disease?
Well, I had no idea what I was doing. That's how out of politics I was. What is DTS? What is it? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think we'll find out. But it's
true all over California.
There you go.
Independence is what it used to be.
Is that a product of the parties thinking too small, or is it a product of the parties bickering too much? It's time to think bigger.
If I can, you know, just never underestimate your ability to do something by just standing up and offering your time. And this town, more than any that I've ever lived in, is open to that. You know, I went to school in Boston, and it's a much more closed community, you know, where there's generations of people, it's kind of harder to break in. San Diego is very different in that way. You can just go to a forum, go to a meeting, go to meet somebody at something like this, and it opens doors that are amazing. And like Denise's parents, my parents came here in the 60s from Cuba, and got here with nothing, and were able to actually create a middle-class lifestyle for us. This is an amazing place to begin with. And for me, I started my legal career here 20 years ago. I met my wife here, and my children were born here. And so I want to make sure that we're living in a great city that they can grow up in. When we say we're America's finest city, we just throw it off the cuff. I want us to believe it. I want us to actually make us America's finest city. I think it's a very real possibility. So thank you all for coming, and thanks for listening.
Excellent, very cool.
Now we have a restroom break, we have alcohol at the entrance. We'll be back in 10 minutes for a performance by A Reason to Survive. Think about it, back in 10 minutes. We're going to be pushing this here.